Hey guys, welcome back to season 2 of the Boss Queens with Voices podcast. I'm your host, the Advice Queen, and I'm joined by a returning guest.
Sisters Keeper and Miss Undefined. Yes, we are operating on the two alias in the spaces. What's up, Wagwan?
Wagwan. I like that. So we're just here, we're gonna wrap it up today. We're gonna be talking about natural hair and could there be more to the hatred of our hair. So let's just get right into it. So Sisters Keeper, what do you think? Do you want to start off with the topic, or do you want
Absolutely. Yes. This is a favorite of mine. Anyone that's been on Sisters Keeper will see that I make mention often to our natural hair. I always promote say we need to burn the wigs them and the weaves them and them someday. And when we do that, we can get back to ourselves. And I know that it has become such a touchy topic amongst our sistrins, because whenever the conversation has entered the chat in regards to natural hair and wigs and perms and all these things, they generally get very defensive around, people saying, well, it's a part of self-expression, and you promoting a natural self is saying that we should stifle other aspects of the personality. For me, I think it is a very important conversation. And as I said, I'm living for this conversation. It's a conversation that will always be in any space that I permeate, because it is very important. As I look at trends that are now happening, we see that there is a need to remove us from the natural and more, towards the unnatural or the fake. We often have these conversations amongst selves where we're saying, fake people and bad mind people and jealous people and this, that, and the third, but we don't look at, the cultures that we have embraced around these things. When I look in the space, I often see a lot of my sistrins who have seriously confused the wearing of wigs or attributing wig to their authentic identity, and that's a lie, and it needs to be said and it needs to be talked about, right? It needs to be brought up. I will often say it's not that I am promoting that you should completely dismiss playing around and having fun. No. However, for me, in order for me to assess your authenticity, for me personally, I don't know about anyone else, I cannot speak for anyone else, I need to see you show up as yourself most of the times. Because for me, when you show up as yourself most of the times, it means that your interests are generally curated around you being you, right? Another part of this conversation speaks to our economics, right? And how self-hate ties into that. Now, we rarely own any of the manufacturing companies associated with creating the wigs and weaves and perms. So for me, there shouldn't even really be no argument, because where's your money going, right? You're picking up $500, $600, $700, thousands of dollars then at that point, and you're spending it on style, and you're neglecting so many other aspects of who you are. So the conversation is far more deeper than just saying, you should just wear your natural hair or learn to embrace that. I always introduce the question of the why. Why is it that, you feel so ashamed to go outside, representing you for all that you are? I often hear as well my sisters talk about, bias, which is true. There is a bias in regards to certain settings when you go into, certain workplace and all these things. Now, for me, again, pressing forward into the creating of your own reality and being adamant about that and being aligned with who you are. When you are, there's certain things that don't affect you. So the things that are going to affect you are the things that you call unto yourself. And I will always tell people, I've only ever had one encounter with a boss, and it wasn't even about my hair. It was about the fact that I covered my hair. I was wearing head wraps. And that's what the issue was. Other than that, any and every space that I've moved in professionally, I've always come with my ear, because my ear is a part of me. And go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say that was going to lead me into, like, obviously my first question that I was going to ask you was, you know, why did you embrace your natural hair?
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
have you always just been somebody that just was in that space of having your own natural hair because you're very comfortable with it, you're very expressive with it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so the latter is it for me. And to expound on the latter of always being confident and comfortable around my hair, I will always say, like, for me, I grew up with pride and reverence for my hair. So yeah, as you said, there would have been so many different elements to this conversation. A part of that was that, unfortunately, for, you know, people around me at the time in my environment, and this legacy of slavery and hatred, and not attributing good hair to Black. So it can't just be that we are Black people, African people that have quote unquote good hair. So our hair is broken down into so many different categories, right? And if you have a certain texture of hair, it must mean that you're mixed with something. So my texture is softer, right? My curls, what would I say? I don't even know that you know, they have all these different categories for A, B, C, all this sort of stuff. But my hair, when it's looked at, it would be considered hair that's mixed Black girl hair. But it's not the case for me. My mother is a Black woman. My father is a Black man. It's just that's just how my texture hair comes. And it's crazy because we are like that, you know. Our textures range from very coily to very, very loose. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have had any mixture in our bloodline. It's just that we are such a diverse people.
To not cut you on that point, is that because your mum always took care of your hair? She always groomed it and that kind of thing. So, you know,
always took care of my hair.
So that's a part of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a part of it. But I wanted to point out that I think that the reason for that pride comes with the fact that it was associated with being good hair. Because I heard a lot of that growing up. My hair was praised. It didn't matter who I was. I had nice hair and I was a pretty little Black girl. That's what, you understand what I'm saying? So there's that. So I just wanted to point out that was there, because it also
was naturally like that.
Speak to the self-hate that we have or whatever, because what makes me so pretty is the fact that my hair wasn't so coily, or what we considered bad hair, as you're saying. It met some sort of a standard for it to be praised, which is a sad thing, but it's a part of our truth, right? However, again, all of that contributed to me having pride in my hair, and that is just the truth, right? Again, my mother took time out to make sure my hair was groomed. I was taught that, you know, not everyone should touch my hair, and you understand what I'm saying? So I grew with a huge, it's a lot of pride that was associated with my natural hair. Now, the programming that was coming in from society did affect me, because, you know, the acceptable standard now is the straight hair. And so we're perming our hair at that time. So I'm coming up, even though I'm loving my hair, I'm coming up as a young girl seeing, you know, other girls perming their hair and it's straight. And there's an attitude that comes with that. And then there's the weave and all those things. And I wanted to try that. I wanted to see what that was about. Didn't take me long. It's interesting too, because when I got to, I believe I was 15 when she asked me, okay, you know, you have a choice now. You can either perm it if you want, or you can keep it natural, like it's up to you. But before that point, I didn't have an option. It had to be my natural hair. And then I permed it. I chose to perm it. And when I did, it was a community disappointment. Everyone was just they were angry. Like, why would you do that? Yeah, I always get that reaction around anything that I do with my hair. Why would you do that? That's a good head of hair, but as you're saying, it meets a particular standard. So my hair is not the type of hair that you have to perm or you have to do anything with it. You can walk proudly with that, because that your hair texture is different. You understand what I mean? You know, so there's that. Permed my hair, didn't last long, because for me it was just a weird thing, because what do I do with this now? I can't really do anything with it. I can't do the fun styles that I used to do before. So it didn't take me a very long time to go back natural, because perm life I wasn't about that life. It was burning me. I didn't understand it. Why would I sit here and, you know, take all of this just to have a particular look when I can just wear my own hair? I've probably ever weaved my hair, I'd say 5 times in my life.
Okay.
I'd say that. And anytime I do anything to my hair, people always say, I don't know why you waste your money, because you're going to take it out. So I am that girl that will probably get it. I weaved it just to try it, and within a week I took it out because it was itching me. Yeah, it was itching. I'm not doing this, like, you know. So that was that. And then in the process of doing all of those things, in the process of playing around and perming and weaving, as I said, I've always been a grounded girl and woman. So there are certain things that I've always been attracting in terms of information. While I was going through all these different phases, I was still reading books and still attracting, you know, this information around our people. I've always just been interested and intrigued with anything that have to do with the state of Black people on a global scale and on a spiritual level as well. So for me, there was something that was conflicting about knowing the things that I know and understanding the things that I began to understand around, you know, how a system had worked hard to implement self-hate in our people, and, you know, the effects that slavery had on us, and the fact that, you know, we couldn't groom our hair during that time. And so, you know, it as a people that took so much pride in their appearance and in their hair, and being in these circumstances where you're treated inhumane and you can't look good. So it's, you know, you're going to look a particular way. People are going to tell you you're ugly, of course. You're going to begin to believe them. And so you're going to resent everything that has to do with your physical makeup. So understanding those things, I just couldn't do it personally. Like, I couldn't understanding the economics around, you know, the weave and the industry and who owned the industry and all these things, all these different things that we're battling with financially. I could not personally, it didn't make sense to me. No, I'm not going to put no more money in my chin pocket. No, I'm not going to do this. It doesn't make sense. And I have my beautiful head of hair. I am going to represent that. I'm going to wear that. Fast forward to today, I thought this movement around Black women cutting off their hair, rejecting, you know, not that it's the reason why everyone do it, but it's a part of the reason why some women do it. You know, this beauty standard and this hair thing, you know, we're just going to cut it off because we're not having an ear, we're not having nothing to talk about, and we cannot attribute our beauty to anything but ourselves, right? I thought that was a beautiful thing. So when I cut off my hair, I was inspired by that perspective to cut it off, because I often heard from women, because again, I'm still here, I'm still natural, I'm wearing my hair, and I've inspired so many sisters around me to do the same. So many of them have come and said, you know, wow, like, I wish I had the pride that you have. And I said, you do, you just have to do it. You know, your hair is beautiful. And the interesting thing about it is that even sisters that meet the quote unquote standard around having good hair are still facing this poisonous mentality of, you know what I mean? We just cannot be natural, and we don't look beautiful with this head of hair on our head. So I thought that was interesting. So a lot of them have, you know, come to me and let me know how I've inspired them to make the change or make the switch to go natural and things like that. And when I decided to cut my hair off, I did it for those sisters that I know personally, that I see, that I come across, that really will not step outside with their hair, because there is such a hatred tied to their image that I cannot show that to the world. In order for me to be acceptable, I have to have this wig on my head. So I cut off mine, because this is not that serious, and you have to learn to embrace you. And if you can watch me do it from the ground up, you shouldn't have any excuses. Everything that you think about me, when you look at me, you're telling me that I am beautiful. When you look at me, you're telling me, you know, love my confidence. So you have those things within you somewhere. We're gonna do this together. So, I just think
is, you know, going back to that, I just think it's deeply enrooted.
It is
within us, because, you know, a lot of us were born into it. Well, majority of us were born into our parents, you know, combing our hairs, relaxing it, jerry curling it, whatever the case was. You know, we just never really had our own natural hair. And whenever we did have our own natural hair, we did, you know, get them comments of, you know, not looking nice or being ugly or looking scruffy or whatever the case may be. And for me personally, I mean, as I said to you, I've never really, you know, natural hair, all of that, it was just never really a thing. It was just, hair was just hair.
Yeah, right.
If that makes sense, you know,
Right.
and, you know, for the majority of my, like my younger days, as I said, my mom was one that, you know, we had jerry curls.
Right.
And then it was the hot comb, and then, you know, eventually it was, you know, you perm in your hair and whatsoever. But during my teen years, I didn't, you know, so much perm my hair that much, because
Right.
I just used to put my hair up in one and,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, work with it and whatever. But fast forward to like, probably like, you know, when this whole weave trend started,
Mhm.
I used to, you know, before we used to do our own, you know, our little short,
Yeah.
little yardie styles, you know, back in the days, and, you know, your little curly hair and all of that.
Yeah.
And as you said, it always used to itch, you know.
Mhm.
I'm the one that
The part is a
you know,
this, like,
and I couldn't, yeah, so I couldn't manage it. So
mhm.
a lot of the time I didn't want to get my hair done because of that very reason. And then I couldn't sit down for hours. Even now, I can't. I think I've had braids. Even my children said it the other day. I had braids a few months ago, remember?
Yeah.
And my kids was like, Mom, you know, this is the first time I've seen you my whole life with braids.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had to even stop and think, what?
Mhm.
Or even braids, because I can't sit down for hours to do my
For
hair.
hours.
So when this wig thing came out, you know, making a wig, and it was like, for me, it was like, wow, this is the perfect thing. I don't even have to. And that was coming from, I won't even say that that was coming. I mean, when I thought about it deeply, it does stem from self-hatred.
Right.
But at my time of going through it, I just thought it was just
Convenient.
easy. And it was for
Yeah.
me being lazy, because
Yeah.
I didn't know how to take care of hair.
And I'm gonna interject here. I love that you said that, because it's a big part of the conversation around us not knowing how to properly groom our hair.
I didn't, and I really still don't.
Yeah, and that this is the part of it for me. We make a lot of excuses because I'm watching these sisters braid wigs. I'm watching our braid wig. I'm watching them take the time to dye the wigs, to bleach it, to do all these things, to have put so much time and effort and attention into making sure that the wig turns out right when you put it on your head. Sis, you can put the same energy into learning how to properly groom your hair. No excuses, no excuses. I'm not let up on.
And I 100% agree with you. I mean, I'm not that one that I'm not fantastic with hair, period. Weave, real, fake, whatever. I'm just not that person. I don't, you know, all of that wonderful stuff. I don't know how to do it. I'm just not attuned. You understand what I mean? I don't know if that's because, I don't know. I'm just not attuned. I have 3 daughters. I've never cane rolled their hair. They've always gone to the hairdressers. Somebody else has always taken care of their hair. It's never been me. Do you understand what I mean? And that's not something that I'm saying being proud. That's something that I'm saying from a place that what you just said about learning to do these things. I've learned to do so many other things in my life because I am that person. I just need to just focus, and I can learn absolutely anything I want to learn. So that was just never a priority for me to learn how to care for hair, because there was always an easier option. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. But hear what you said. That's the difference between you and many others. And there are many like you that do the same thing, wherein you don't know how to do it, but you make a conscious effort to show up to make sure that it gets done. You know what I'm saying? So you are taking them to get it groomed by other sisters that know how to do it. That in itself will speak back to the community and the fact that it takes a village, because it's not every single one of us are going to know how to do hair. This is why we had natural hair salons and things like that, which we need again. We need our natural hair salons back. So again, that also speaks to our economics, right? Because natural hair salons have gone out of business because the weaves and the wig industry are boom. So sisters are not making money doing natural hair, or the skills now are becoming almost non-existent because they're not being used, they're not needed no more. Nobody's braiding hair, nobody, you know what I mean? So it has to be talked about, because when you come here and you manifest like this, you're going to have this here. So we're not going to get away from this. So we always have to be having this type of conversation. It's 100%. Very necessary that we do. And for me, I'm going to say it's not that I understand the need to play. I understand the need to play, and everything has to come into a balance. But at the same time, understand why you are playing in the things that you're playing in, and really seek to understand how those things affect you on a core being level. That's 100%. My thing with it all. So yeah, Black women have to start show up as themselves.
And just as you said that, you know, it being, you know, a representation of your core being, that leads to my second question, which was, do you think there's a connection between us and our natural hair and, you know, basically the natural source, which is the sun? Because I've always thought about it, because I've seen a lot of depictions of Black women, African women, and they always have the sun above them with their afro. So is there, I mean, I know that those are pictures, but, you know, it's an imagination, isn't it? People paint pictures from their imagination, isn't it? So do you think that there's some connection, like divine connection between our hair and the universe?
Okay, so I picked up this, it's an article that I've had now for probably, as I said, I believe about a decade or so. I came across this in my early 20s and I got it from some more brothers. It's written by R.V. Bay and it's called Cosmetology, the Truth About Our Hair. It says, your hair is your antenna for the purpose of sending and receiving impulses, thought to and from the cosmos. Let me read what he wrote as to why he wrote the article. He said, I was inspired to write an article 10 years ago regarding the history of hair. My inspiration came from within, and after reading the book 400 Years Without a Comb by William Marrow, he was ahead of his time when he published it in 1973. His intention was to bring consciousness of the beauty of our natural hair. Several generations later we have arrived. I too have done additional research that closes up the gap. With our antenna tuned in instead of tuned out, we have a chance at reaching our full spiritual development as we march forward in this spiritual war. Now, I want to read something else just based on what you asked when you talked about if it has some sort of a connection to our spirituality. I think it's do I have it right? Okay.
Yeah, basically.
So I'm just reading, I'm just taking out different aspects of the article. It's not in any particular order.
Yeah.
So it says the major component of hair is silicon. Silicon is used in the memory of computers. Hair grows in a spiral that is threaded out of the scalp. It grows in a crystal formation, as in quartz. Quartz is used in many electronic devices. In fact, the first TV was called the quartz set. Is it starting to register that your hair is your antenna? Question mark. Hair is responsible for your telepathy and perception, your third eye awareness. Everyone needs to take a moment to meditate. Some call it prayer. In simple terms, we need to take time to think to receive thought impulses. When we think, we send out and receive thoughts, soundless thoughts. Your hair is the primary component in that process. It carries current from your body as sound through the hair filaments and receives currents as soundless called thoughts. Okay, let me just read this part because it is
interesting.
It is deep. Okay, hair is present on the head of a fetus before other parts of the body develop. The developing body needs the signal sent via the hair. If you have ever seen an ultrasound of a fetus, you would see the hairline of the child, and with that, you could possibly tell if it was the hairline of a male or a female.
100%.
All right. I'm gonna jump to that.
It's necessary. It's necessary. It's part of the
I'm gonna read from this. I'm gonna jump to this part because I think this part is very important. Hair is located on the points of the body which receive and send the most signals: head, eyebrows, eyelashes, underarms, genital, face, chest, ears, nose, and fine body hair. The hair on the eyebrows helps bring consciousness to the pineal gland. The eyelashes bring consciousness to your eyes. The armpits are the seat of the mammary glands. A woman's mammary glands, breasts, are not only larger than men, they actually function as an output. This is why a man usually has and needs hair on his chest. The hair on the genitals bring consciousness during the act of sexual reproduction. It aids in bringing in a child with high vibratory rate, provided parents have a high vibratory rate. If your vibratory rate is low, you usually attract the same. So I'm gonna leave it right because I want to think.
And just before you leave it right there, just that last sentence that you just said, because I had a debate a few probably a year or so ago with
Right.
you know, just different people about pubic hair. Right. And I you know, I said, you know, I don't care what anybody wants to say, you know, I keep myself well groomed down there.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing that shaving bald thing.
I'm not taking it off. Nope.
Not taking it off, because it's there for a reason.
Nope.
It's there for a reason.
Nope.
So
Just
you understand what I mean?
Yep.
Not to say you must be walking around with bushy armpits and
No.
bushy front and whatever,
Right.
but you
Right.
you understand what I'm trying to say? Because
Perfect.
sometimes all these chemicals, all these things that they tell you to be using abrasive to be taken off hair, it's destroying things within your body.
Nature is very intelligent.
Yeah, and I'm just going to leave that one right there, because that just made a lot of sense what you just said in that last sentence, because not even just the last sentence, that last paragraph in its entirety.
And everyone, I'm sure, can attest to this. When having any conversation around anything and you get a line, like let's just say we're talking now, and truths are just rolling in, the ancestors are present, everything is aligned, what we're saying is just flowing. You know how we would say back home, we would say, oh my gosh, I true you're talking about, because the ear them just raise up from my body. Yeah, that right there. That's how back home we confirm that what we're saying
is aligned.
Because exactly the hair on your body is reacting to that. So it's very interesting. So this is why for me, when I started to get into this stuff, I started to look into a lot of articles around, you know, our hair and our spirituality and how that's tied. I believe it's Malachi York information that I came across, and I know Malachi York is associated with the Nuapians, and as for me, Lisa, but everywhere I collect information. I collect it
like myself.
Information from everybody, because everything is valid until it's not, and no one owns information. No one owns it. You understand me? I said the energy cannot be created nor can it be destroyed. So every thought that has ever been thought is still valid, it's still present, it's still there. So we just all tap into these mental reservoirs depending on where we're vibrating and we're collecting information. But York, he speaks to us as a species of people, that we're different species of people. And he talked about the fact that we're the only group of people on the face of the earth that actually has hair. No other group of people has hair. They have fur. And it's just like the fur on the animal's body. Now, if you look at that in theory, we are the only people here that defies nature's laws. We're the only people here that 100%. Go towards the sun, and everything with life, light, and intelligence goes towards the sun. So this is why our hair grow up. It is not meant to grow down. So understand that you're primary beings, and the very fact of how you manifested here, it's true to that. You understand? You are a child of the sun. Anybody where the sun never created attack, the sun doesn't give you cancer. It does not. It does not attack you when you go out there. It replenishes you. It blesses you every time you're in its presence.
And so that's why I need to always run to the sun when I'm feeling a certain way and people don't understand it.
What are you talking about? Summertime over here in Canada, Black people get retarded because we've been out of the sun for so long. Every time it's summer, we lose our shit. It's just what it is. When we are in the sun, we are different. Look at tropical beings as opposed to every look at us. And
Canada's the same like the UK. I forgot Canada's literally the same. We have seasons as well, don't you? Yeah, so we don't have the cold and all that. So I get what you mean, because it's like here, once the sun comes out, everybody gets crazy.
Yeah, we get excited as shit. We get excited as shit. We lose our shit because this makes sense to us. Things are aligning exactly. You know that we feel better. Our moods are better. We as sun beings, we need the sun. It's necessary for us to be in the sun, and we cannot function. We don't function very well when the sun is not around. You know, when Father Sun and about our problems. So it's so many things. It's so many things, and this is why I'm so passionate about this conversation up here, because I'm telling you, like, the sisters that I come around that are natural, no matter what their belief systems are usually far more grounded than the others. That's in my experience, right? So again, I just want to put forth that when we talk to you about these things, we're not coming from a place of hate, because you know love.
So no.
Oh, you're hating and hate for what? You buy the weave, you can buy the weave and wear it too. Anything you do to the weave, you can do it too. You understand what I mean? So this is not about trying to speak down to you or attack you or anything like that. No, this comes from love.
It's a valid conversation.
Yes, it comes from introspection, and it comes from the fact that I am you, sister. I am you. You understand? So I know the mental turmoil and the psychological anguish that many of you face. We have all been there in different ways, but we've all been there. So we can speak to that with love, because we know where you're coming from and we understand you best. You understand me? I say we know that it's confusion that have you doing half of the things that you're doing right now. And we know that you're just falling for the trickery that society puts out there and tell you that you have to be this and you have to look like that to be accepted. And we're gonna be here to tell you, no, the fuck you don't. No, you don't. You just need to be you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Yeah, you need to be you. And yeah, we need to just get back to our shit, because it's not making sense.
100%.
It is not making sense. And you know, I stumbled across the article as well. I'm not going to read much of the article, but I just wanted to read a bit of it, like, especially, you know, it says in early African civilizations, hairstyles could indicate a person's family background, tribe, and social status. So there's already a lot. They, you know, like they've taken away everything that we use to identify ourselves, even up to our hairstyles. And if you think about it, you know, the two most, I would say, hated forms of natural black hair in every part of the world is the afro and dreadlocks. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because those things, I think, signify some sort of black power, some sort of, I don't know what it is, but I just know that you're not going in any workplace with an afro. And majority of a lot of school, I mean, there was a guy that just had some big fight with the Ghana authorities that I saw on YouTube, because they wasn't accepting his child into school with dreadlocks. Yeah, and he literally fought the system until it and you know, we're in the age of social media, so it took off on social media, and you know, they had to kind of like back down. But I'm saying even in 2021, we're having this fight with even in England, we've had instances of young boys not being able to go into school with the same thing, with if they're from Rasta and Farian, you know, backgrounds. Some are even, you know, probably now it's a bit more relaxed, but you know, there was issues with boys having cane rolls. You know, there was all sorts of issues and it's always surrounding our natural form of hair. You can go into the workplace with the craziest weave, and nobody says anything to you, you know, but the minute you go in with your natural hair, you know, it's, you know, I've even had people say to me like, oh, you have hair.
Interesting.
Like, what do you mean? I'm so confused. What do you mean I've got hair?
And it's even that comes back to this atmosphere that we have allowed to become our norm, that or here should be questionable, and it's okay for you to question me about how I look naturally, how I manifested naturally. And I don't know if it's because I'm in childcare. Just here, come close the cage for me, please. I don't know if it's because I'm in childcare, but I've never had that. Like, it's interesting.
It's more, I think it's more in the corporate world.
Yeah, yes, definitely. It's interesting because even though I can see that there may be some reserve from people that are in quote unquote positions of authority, them just probably already know, so like, can't really say nothing to she, like I can't say nothing to her. But it's very interesting because in going into these different spaces, other people may have been addressed about the things that I do, like wearing, you know, my hair a certain way or whatever. Or other women have come to me and asked me, oh, so they didn't say nothing to you about your hair, or they didn't say nothing to you about your head wrap. So I find those things to be interesting. So I attribute those things as well with the type of vibration that you carry, because we again are creating our reality every step of the way. So if we have allowed ourselves to believe the things that they're telling us, then we're going to project that. So naturally, we're going to attract the people that have those thought patterns. And say, oh well, you know, you can't be wearing your hair like this, because we're already thinking it. We've already created
that thought process. So naturally, then your vibration.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to get back to ourselves. And when we do, speaking to our economics, we're going to create the things that we need, right? Then our money will start to flow within and amongst each other, because we are creating the things that are necessary for us. So if you're not a Black woman, you cannot create Black woman hair product. You cannot do it.
That's another interesting topic. Well, not even a topic, but that's another interesting, you know, stance, because even in this article that I'm reading, you know, the black hair industry, I mean, first of all, Madam C.J. Walker, we know, was the first, you know, black millionairess from black hair,
Right.
from making black hair products. And I think that was like in 1930.
Hmm.
But let's move forward to 2015 because this article is a bit old.
Okay.
But I mean, 2015 in the UK, right? Black hair care was worth 530 million. So that's $774 million. That's just in the UK. Do you see how much wealth that is that we're putting into the economy just to look like them?
I've been seeing.
To look like them.
And this is why, for me, I tell people, your self-love politics has to be healthy, because you can't separate who we are as a people from politics. You understand? They have politicized our identity, and so your politics have to be healthy. Your politics have to be healthy. Your love politics need to be healthy. Your love politics need to look like you, and your self-love politics need to be rooted and grounded in you. Unless there's a need to go out and spend with others, because you don't know them own everything, so we have to pay them rent, we have to insure this, that, all of them.
Take your time to build.
What it is. But you see, when it comes on to my skin and my health products, my herbs, my brothers and sisters get my money, and I've been operating like this 100%. For as long as I can know myself. Like me, with my brothers and sisters, when me buy things from me, always have special, my container them special, because them know me from them just start, and I'm still around. Everything, you see what I'm saying? Like
even with that, like what Black people need to just be understanding is that, as I said in my last podcast, it's simple mathematics, right? We are never going to have bargaining power against any race of people unless we come together and start to build together.
ABC,
so,
ABC.
Yeah, you know, I applaud all the Black businesses that are out there doing a thing and, you know, representing, yeah? But we need to be collectively having that buying power. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
A book that I always recommend for because it was written in the 1940s by an American brother, and it's still valid today. The Miseducation of the Negro. The Miseducation of the Negro is a must read for every single person that is considered to be a Black person. It has to. You need proof. It's sad half of the time to know that these things are still relative, but what it speaks to, what those things speak to me is a timeline. A timeline that we're trapped in a time loop. And you see, because things look different, we've come to accept and understanding that times have changed. It hasn't. It's the illusion, because we are really still living in the 40s, because everything that's of reference for us is coming out of that time, and it is still fully valid now. And even strides that they had made after that, we probably reversed that and gone way back, because the programmings have been so imminent, or they found more intelligent ways to implement different programming. So we just keep getting tricked and bamboozled, and we're not paying attention to what's happening.
We're not paying attention. We are not paying attention. That's what it is. Yeah. We're not paying attention. We're not reading. We're not putting what we read into practice. You understand what I mean? We're just
knowledge without application is useless. So that's a big thing. That's a big thing.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah, I was just reading in this article, you know, it's talking about, you know, when slavery was abolished, you know, and that was, I think, 1865, and how Black people felt the pressure to fit into mainstream white society, you know, and then that's, you know, obviously where the whole texturizing your hair and, you know, trying to make your hair look European, you know, sort of started. And, you know, the author of this says that she, you know, she nicknamed it the post-emancipation era, you know, where the Great Oppression, because that's when Blacks had to go through, you know, really intensive methods to smooth their hair.
Right.
So we're not even talking about emancipation from slavery. We're talking about, you know, going through a whole thing where the collective are thinking that my hair needs to be European straight. And if you think back of it, when you look at to like all, you know, them back in the day, them, what's his name, that used to have his hair slicked, the Black guy that sang and it just looked like he had a bloody wig on, not Bobby, what's his name? really, his name was there, but it's gone. He's a famous singer anyway from back in the day, but all of them from back in the days, they all had their comb, slicking back their hair, you know, and yeah, just looking totally ridiculous, really. But I suppose that was their way of trying to fit in to looking more.
And maybe what they were told. For me, there's so many things, because everything comes back full circle, right? And so we're talking about how you're going to further your agenda, any agenda that you have in regards to any people. But as far as I can see, we are at the forefront of these psychological warfare. When you look at the music industry serves a purpose for furthering certain conversations that fund, you know, segregation and separation and self-hate. You know,
Sis, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because the recording is gonna end. So do you want to stop? Do you want to do the part 2 right now?
Let us record part 2 maybe tomorrow. Can we do tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah. So guys, I'm gonna have to stop recording now because I've reached my maximum recording allowance apparently. So yeah, so this is episode, as I said, talking about natural hair and the natural hair journey. This is going to be part 1. We will have part 2 out for you for the following week. And yeah, until then, stay tuned to myself and also Sisters Keeper, because yeah, we're both delivering great stuff that people need to be in tune with and listening to, and yeah, just taking whatever knowledge and information you can from that. Do you want to close out with anything, Sisters Keeper?
Sure. Well, I'm just, again, I'm always thanking you for, you know, creating the platform, for being so open and receptive to, you know, this linking up and building and creating a connection, because this is what it's all about. Yeah, just thanks for being aligned. Listen, people, share it with your friends. Jump on the lives. You're gonna be on live this Saturday coming, yeah. After she records and puts out the podcast, then she usually has a Instagram live where, you know, everyone can just come and have a conversation, chime in. Good conversation, good times, good talk. So be present for those, and yeah, just stay in tune with us.
Definitely. So thanks, sis, for gracing my screen and my microphone again, and we'll catch up soon. Okay, take care, stay blessed, everybody, and tune in next week. Bye.